Today we're going deep on AI in video games, a topic that's been simmering for quite a while, but's gotten a real turbo boost with the new release of Google's Genie 3.
We Are the Machine starts now.
Hey folks, welcome back to We Are the Machine, where we unpack the wild ways AI is rewriting the rules of creativity. I'm your host, Chris Misnarek. So if you're a game creator, artist, or player who geeks out over immersive worlds, this episode is basically your backstage pass to the future. Because AI isn't just coding smarter enemies anymore, it's becoming a co-author, a world builder, and maybe even a partner in crime. But here's the catch. As AI reshapes the game, what's it doing to the artist behind the curtain? The writers, the designers, the animators, and the game players as well. So let's unpack all that. So the AI gameplay revolution. Let's set the stage. You've probably played games where enemies kind of learn your moves or levels change every time you play. So that's AI's handiwork. But until recently, it's mostly been about hard-coded behaviors or procedural generation. So you can think kind of No Man's Sky, which has that sprawling universe all based on math formulas, or enemy tactics in The Last of Us Part 2 that feel just a little bit smarter. So now Google Genie 3 is going to change the game, literally. So it's an AI system that takes a massive language model, like the kind that you use on ChatGPT for writing essays and all that, except this one has a deep understanding of the 3D virtual world, the physics within it and all of that. So it can generate realistic conversations between you and an NPC. It can remember what you did hours ago, the way ChatGPT has its memory function, and it can spin a story that reacts uniquely to your choices. So picture Genie 3 kind of as the ultimate dungeon master. So it's not stuck in a dusty basement anymore, but it's inside your game. It's alive, it's responsive, it's changing based on you. It's the perfect dungeon master. So why does this matter for creators? So for game writers and narrative designers, it's huge. Usually writing a game's dialogue or quest is a painstaking process. It's going to be hundreds of lines, crafted and tested. It's still limited by the memory and the budget on top of it. So now AI can draft or improvise on the fly. It can pull from everything the player has done, tweak the storylines in real time. But the kicker is, if AI can generate compelling dialogue or even quests dynamically, what happens to the human storytellers? Are we looking at an AI takeover of creativity? So I think it's complicated. As AI might automate the grunt work, the drafting of the variations of dialogue or filling in little side quests that frees the writers to focus on the big picture narrative design, the tones, the emotional beats. So in one sense, AI is a collaborator, like having an assistant who's never going to sleep. But the danger is that studios might start relying on AI to replace rather than assist, especially in budget crunches. So that's going to threaten jobs for writers and voice actors. We've already seen some of them comment on it years ago. And it's going to risk the loss of that human spark, that subtle emotion nuance that AI can struggle to grasp. I think that eventually it's going to get a better feel for it, but I guess you got to think about it in the sense of those side quest NPC conversations. Do you feel like that's really an artistic loss? For example, if they take that budget and put it somewhere better, are you super bummed on that? I mean, I understand the voice actors, and I think the issue is going to be that these games are going to choose specific places to put actors. I don't think they're going to be able to knock them all out. I don't think they're going to want to do that. So I think that if some studios start to do that, it'll maybe cheapen their brand, and other smaller studios might, get away from it and get back to the basics and kind of go for a homespun model that people will like. I think they're just going to keep throwing money at it. Video games are an enormous category, bigger than film and everything. So I think the money's going to stay there. I just think it's going to be a matter of shifting places where it's going to be spent. So for concept artists and animators, Genie 3's real-time understanding of 3D environment means AI can suggest animations, it can generate visual assets, which we can already do with things like Meshy, or help with environmental design procedurally. So you can think about it like a paintbrush that paints while you sketch, filling in shadows, suggesting color palettes or creative background elements dynamically. based on your gameplay. And some people know from video games already that the procedural generated games already exist. So this is kind of similar, but a step forward in the intelligence of the process and the ability to generate more sprawling and physics-based scenarios. So this can supercharge an artist's workflow, so there's not going to be endless tweaking of minor details. So there's more time to invent and perfect the big ideas. But again, just like we've kind of seen with the bigger studios getting caught using AI, I think that it's going to be harder for them to get away with it. They're either going to have to be explicit about it and hurt their brand potentially, or try to hide it and have possibly worse PR fallout. So I think the indie creators are going to be able to get away with it for a while. And I think they might have some interesting ideas because they're not looking to necessarily get rid of jobs because they can't necessarily afford them. So this might be a unique way for them to find solutions that we're not even thinking about yet. But again, if AI can spit out concept art or animators faster and cheaper, what happens to the artist's role? Some fear commodification of creativity, where it's all AI generated assets. They're going to flood the market, dilute the value, and push the artists to the margins. But I tend to believe that people still prefer quality. So the only way that AI can do it is if it's quality, and we'll just have to find a way to beat that. I think humans have a way of finding something interesting to add to a scenario. And then on the flip side, smart artists might harness AI as a creative amplifier. So it's going to be used to explore more ideas in less time. It's going to push creative boundaries that we never thought possible. And so now what about, the consumer, the players? So games powered by Genie 3 promises is the big key word there, because they only really shown us some sample clips and nothing's available for creators yet, but they promise that the worlds are going to feel alive, where the NPCs are going to talk like real people, remember your history, and adapt dynamically. So you'll imagine a quest that changes because your character chose diplomacy last time, or an NPC who cracks a joke based on something you screwed up earlier. So it's going to be like a next level immersion. But again, this is a promise, and these ideas all do sound like concepts that we could get working, but there's still a lot of steps in that process. But the rub is like, will the AI conversations feel genuine or just clever parlor tricks? AI can mimic language, but it can't feel the way humans do. So that might mean the dialogue might sometimes ring a little hollow, lack the emotional subtlety or imperfect humanity that makes stories resonate. And then there's obviously the risk of AI going rogue, generating something toxic or inappropriate content learned, from the massive internet. But I think the developers, if they do end up doing these things where they're commercializing games, are going to have to work with certain projects that use licensed data, which might mean that it's a tighter, smaller set, but it will be legal to use, and those things will generate far less, hopefully, of that kind of stuff. And I think we're still a long journey in, and a lot of safeguards and ways of functioning with this will hopefully take place. New ways of boxing the product will come about. We already started seeing that with VO, Photoshop, like we talked about this week in the news with their AI. So I think we'll use it where we need to use it. And again, I think smaller creators are going to get away with it before bigger brands do. So just a quick geography lesson. So while Google leads with Genie 3 in the US, companies in China like Tencent, NetEase are aggressively pushing the AI NPCs and story generational tool also. So this is, again, a global arms race in AI-powered creativity. We hear about it in every other segment, so why not here? Again, video games are a huge segment. So the market for AI in gaming is booming, and it's apparently expected to quadruple in the next 5 years. So developers, in the US and worldwide are betting that AI is going to define how games are built and how they're played, which means that artists everywhere are going to need to understand and engage with AI, whether that's collaborating with it or competing with it. You're inevitably going to have to touch it in some variety. So you better prepare and understand, and that's what we do here. You don't have to love AI or the use of AI in art to come here and talk. I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and that's part of the discussion. But you should be aware of what you're up against. So before we wrap up, let's zoom out just a little bit on Genie 3. So the AI magic in there isn't just a gaming thing. It's part of kind of a bigger picture where AI is going to be touching all creative fields. So music composers use AI for adaptive game soundtracks that are going to shift with the action, which is a pretty awesome thing, I'm sure, that we'll be able to experience, and that is maybe hard to do without it, and people aren't going to want to go away from it. So filmmakers are going to employ AI to generate backgrounds or CGI elements, and writers and visual artists experiment with, co-creation tools all the time. So the convergence is really raising a fascinating question. As AI blurs the line between human and machine creativity, how do we keep our unique voices alive, or how do we create all new ones? So what's the bottom line with AI in video games and now Google Genie 3? Neither are villains nor saviors. They're powerful tools that we can reshape video games and creative fields in ways that are really, exciting, and some of it's challenging for certain, parts of the profession. But for artists and creators, the future is going to, demand agility, and that's now really true of most fields. Embracing AI as a collaborator, possibly, but also, fighting hard to keep the human soul in the storytelling and art. So if you do employ it, I hope that it's not, the base core of it. I hope it's not to just generate some garbage to get clicks. I mean, if you're doing it, what are you going to do? There's different levels. So I hope that, we continue to speak from ourselves, just for our benefit and other people's benefit. But we're going to go where we're going to go. But for players, it's going to promise some deeper, more personalized worlds. And the risk is losing that kind of messy, beautiful imperfection that makes stories human, but I think we'll sprinkle them in there. And, as always, we're not just machines or creators. We're a little bit of both. So thanks for hanging out with us on We Are the Machine. If you're a creator or a gamer with thoughts on AI and games, hit us up, send me an email, leave me a comment. We want to hear your take. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, keep questioning what it means to create in the age of AI. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Please give us a comment, give us a rate. And until next time, keep making, keep imagining, keep pushing the boundaries.
Thanks for listening to We Are the Machine, brought to you by the Riff Fitters.
You are listening to Send It On Back, an original song by That Great State, as covered by
The Machines.
Sending my love.